The Fairy's Promise. Part 2. The wind whispered Elara's name, weaving it into the very fabric of fate, as though the world itself conspired to remember her sacrifice. Yet fate, ever elusive and capricious, had far more trials to bestow. Though she had reclaimed her wings, they were no longer the delicate gossamer threads of the moonlit court. Instead, they were something fiercer, streaked with the fire of twilight, pulsing with the wild, untamed magic of the veil. No longer bound by the laws of fae or human, Elara was something new, something unchained, and she reveled in it. Neither fae nor mortal, she was the storm between the two, fierce and free. Cashin, her mortal love, watched her with eyes full of wonder, his gaze both awestruck and heavy with concern. His love for her was unwavering, but the world she now inhabited was a labyrinth of monsters and myths, and his mortal frame was fragile in its presence. The Shadow Race attack had been but a warning, a reminder that darker creatures, drawn to the pulse of her newfound power, were stirring in the depths of the Forbidden Woods. One night, the moon bathed the forest in silver, casting an ethereal glow over the trees. Suddenly, the earth beneath Elara's feet trembled with ancient power, and a voice, ancient as the stars, as deep as the roots of the world, whispered through the air, curling like smoke around her. Daughter of Twilight, your power is untamed. Claim your throne, or be devoured. Elara turned to Cashin, her heart a tumult of fear and fierce resolve. I am no queen, she murmured, her voice a soft defiance. But the earth itself seemed to disagree. Vines, delicate yet commanding, curled around her feet, the river beside her shimmering like liquid starlight, reflecting an image of her crowned in gold. You are whatever you choose to be, Cashin said, his voice firm yet gentle, as if his very words were a promise. But power, once it finds you, does not wait. You must wield it, or it will consume you. And so, she ventured into the veil, knowing the trials would not be kind. To master her magic, Elara had to face more than mere physical challenges. She had to confront the deepest parts of herself. The spirits of old, both ethereal and mischievous, demanded understanding, wisdom, and the courage to face what had been forgotten. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath as she took each step, the path ahead shifting and twisting like a riddle waiting to be solved. The first trial came swiftly, striking at the very core of her spirit. The world around her shifted, and in an instant, she was no longer in the veil, but in a place that felt eerily familiar. It was the meadow where she had once danced in the warmth of sunlight, where laughter and joy had filled the air. But now, the sky was clouded, and the faces of those she had loved and lost, her family, her friends, her own kin, appeared, their expressions cold, their voices filled with condemnation. They whispered accusations, their words laced with betrayal. You were never one of us, they said. You don't belong here. The pain of abandonment and rejection flooded her chest, a suffocating weight. Elara's heart ached, torn between the love she had once given and the heartache of being cast aside. She had been abandoned by those who should have loved her, and in their eyes, she was now an outcast, forever lost. Could she still love a world that had turned its back on her? Could she forgive those who had rejected her for something she had no control over? But Elara, her heart ablaze with the fire of her newfound magic, knew what she had to do. She couldn't go back to that place, couldn't let the past define her. The meadow began to warp and shift, and with a cry of defiance, she released the pain, letting it dissolve into the wind. She understood now. The world could turn away, but she would stand strong, unyielding. Her love was a gift, not a weakness. The second trial was more subtle, more insidious. Elara stood in the center of a clearing, the moonlight casting a silver glow around her. But something was wrong. Her heart tightened as she saw him.
Cashin.
But not the Cashin she knew. This one was fading, his form growing translucent, his smile slowly turning into a grimace of pain. He reached out to her, his voice soft but filled with sorrow. You've changed, Elara. You've become something more than I can understand. I can't keep up with you. I can't hold you the way I once did. Her breath caught in her throat as he reached for her, but with each step she took toward him, he seemed to slip further away, like sand through her fingers. He was vanishing, fading into the darkness of the forest. "Please," he whispered, "don't forget me." Could she embrace her magic without losing the one who had stood by her all this time? Could she wield the power she had so fiercely claimed, knowing it might cost her the only true love she had ever known? The answer came to her, swift and sure. Love was not a chain. It was a flame. It could burn brightly, without being consumed. She couldn't let herself be trapped by fear or doubt. With a surge of magic, she tore through the illusion, shattering it with the force of her will. Passion wasn't lost to her. Not yet, not ever. She could have both, the power and the love. She would protect them both. And then came the final trial. The moon hung high, casting its silver light over the still waters of a pool at the heart of the vale. The water shimmered, and as Elara gazed into its depths, two reflections emerged, one of radiant light, a shimmering fae with wings of gossamer, elegant and ethereal, the other of shadow, her mortal side, grounded, filled with the weight of her experiences, her heart stained with loss and longing. Two sides of the same coin. The veil whispered, "Choose." The words hung in the air, laden with the expectation of a decision that could shape her entire existence. Elara stood before the mirror, torn between the two paths. But something inside her stirred. She could not choose one side over the other. The light and the shadow were both a part of her, as inseparable as day and night, as necessary as fire and water. She did not have to be one or the other. She could be both, balanced and free. Without a moment's hesitation, she stepped forward, her foot breaking the surface of the water, and in that instant, she understood. Power surged through her, untamed and wild, swirling around her like a tempest, but she did not falter. She embraced it. The light, the dark, the magic of both the fae and the mortal realms, and it responded to her, not as a force to be feared, but as a force to be wielded. She had chosen herself. When Elara emerged from the veil, the very air around her seemed to bow in reverence. The creatures of shadow, the things that had once lurked in the darkness, now stepped aside, their fear of her mingled with awe. Her wings unfurled, glowing with the hues of both dawn and dusk, their shimmering beauty beyond words. Her eyes, once uncertain, now gleamed with the wisdom of two worlds. She had bridged the gap between them, and in doing so, had found the strength to transcend both. Cashin, standing by her side, his hand steady in hers, spoke with a voice that was soft yet resolute. "What now, my love?" Elara's smile was a blaze of brilliance, her voice both fierce and serene. "Now we write our own legend." And so, the story of the fairy who defied fate continued, not as a tragedy, but as a tale of love, power, and a destiny forged by her own hand. The world would never be the same. Moral of the story: true strength lies in embracing every part of yourself, even the parts you fear. Love may guide us, but only we can choose our own destiny. Part 3 coming soon.